Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all learned this truth from him who do rule well. Peace and salutation to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another lesson through the Spirit, and I'm going to entitle this one, We're Not Here to Build a Life on This Side. Because once you come into this truth, once you come into this ministry of serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, all the aspirations or desires that you had before you came into this truth, either you might have wanted one of those high-paying jobs that consume pretty much majority of your time, or you had a woman and she wanted 10 kids and the white picket fence and go on family vacations, this and that. But ultimately, once you come into this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, yeah, you have those responsibilities, but that's secondary. Because once you come into this truth, once you come into the ministry of serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and going out there and prophesying on the highways and byways and putting up these electronical epistles, that's pretty much going to take up, majority of your time, because now, you can't take that job that you got to work 6-7 days a week and you got to move around and, be on consumed with, all these hours you got to work. Ultimately, you go, you find another job that allows you to still get your daily bread, still allow you to take care of responsibilities, pay the bills. Maybe even your woman, maybe your woman, she don't know what you're involved in, and now she's asking, oh, why you always leaving on certain days and don't come back, and then some women, they'll understand, they'll benefit you being in the truth. And then you have those other women that you got to spend all your time with me, and ultimately all that's for these people in the world, because these people in the world, these 2/3 Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, they made Babylon, the Great America, their rest. They invested so much in this place that, they're not ready to let it go. But when that MOTB, that charagma gets made presented, majority of the people up on the planet Earth, they're going to take it because they're so invested in this life. I built a life here. I got businesses. I got this and that. My stock portfolio is booming. I got gold and silver, not knowing that this current world, this current kingdom being ran by Esau, Edom, is about to be done away with. And then ultimately, the elect, they're going to be in that spirit of wanting to get out of here. Not, I'm going to get this high-paying job so I can send my kids, my grandparent, my great grandkids to college. No, man, this is, Babylon, the Great America, it's on its way out. This place does not have long. They don't have no 1,500 years, 200 years like these people, especially our people, believe that this place has left. Because ultimately they're not watching for prophecy. So really they're in the dark. They don't know what the hell is going on. So that's why really they don't. Well, even if you tell them, that America's going to be destroyed by thermonuclear missiles, yeah, they may say, okay. But they don't really believe in it. They don't really believe that Yahushai is going to come back in his lifetime. They don't believe in it. That's why they're so invested in this place. And when that MOTB gets made mandatory, it's going to be nothing for them to take it, because this is all they know. But I'm going to get this first scripture. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 40. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle. And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon earth. And that's the spirit, being pilgrims upon earth. Not, being tied to all these worldly possessions. Oh, my house, my job, or this land I got. You know, oh, my car, or, you know, kids, dogs, jewelry. That's what these worldly people, you know, these 2/3 Jakes, that's what they're invested in. You know, they put all their time, effort, energy into obtaining these things, into chasing a corruptible crown, not knowing that ultimately this place, it's on its way out. It's on the verge of a collapse. But the only ones who are going to be in that spirit, oh, okay, we have these things, houses, apartments, cars, means of transportation, but ultimately that's to be able to do the work. It's not the, oh yeah, look what I got. Like these Americans and these Babylonians love to boast in their possessions, but not knowing that Yahweh Basham Shai is about to destroy this place. So, ultimately not being tied to Babylon, the great America, not being tied to these worldly possessions like these Babylonians, these Americans. They're not willing to let go of all this. Well, really, our people, the Israelites, they're not willing to let go of all these worldly aspirations. And no, I got to go get that job. You'll tell Jacob about the truth. And then the first thing they do is, okay, I'll repent, I'll serve, but I got to go get this job. I got to go get this bag first. Whenever I get this bag, I'll come back and serve. And then you never hear from them ever again. But ultimately not knowing that this world, this place that we know as Babylon, the great America, it's about to be done away with. Verse 41, he that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose. Yeah, and ultimately we know that we're going to have to walk away from all these possessions, jobs, houses, apartments, cars, and maybe even our family members, women, wife, kids, parents, uncles. Because when that charagma gets made presented, we're gonna be met with that, the hour of temptation, and knowing the consequences of what comes with taking that MOTB. Ultimately, we're gonna have to walk away from all this. We're gonna have to walk away from these jobs, these houses, apartments, cars, because the only way to be able to still participate in society, to pump some gas in your car, go to the grocery stores, you're going to have to take that charagma. Verse 42, he that occupieth merchandise as he that had no profit by it, and he that buildeth as he that shall not dwell therein. And ultimately we know that all these, worldly possessions, this life, that we're going to have to walk away from it. We're not at the job working 80, 90 hours a week. I'm going to work 90 hours a week. So I could get the bag and I could get rich and I'm going to invest because America is going to continue on forever. No, we know that ultimately, we go to work, we do our daily responsibilities, ultimately to be able to do the work, to serve, to minister, not to get rich and, I'm going to save all this money so I could get, this piece of land over here in Florida and I'm going to build 10 houses for my great. This world, this place that we call Babylon the Great is crumbling. But yet you have all these people building here, building houses, communities, buying lands. Oh, I'm gonna go get this job in Miami because they're gonna pay better, so I could be set up for the rest of my life and my kids could be sure. No, man, this place, it's on its way out. But the only ones who are going to be in that spirit, knowing, okay, we're doing all these things, working these jobs, working these hours. But ultimately, like it says in Haggai, we're working, but, we're filling up that bag with holes. It's just never ending. This society, this world, it was built on debt. That's why America is damn near $40 trillion in debt, knowing damn well they're never going to pay it off. Verse 43, he that soweth as if he should not reap, so also he that planteth the vineyard as he that shall not gather the grapes. Yeah, and all these people, they're so invested in this world, in this place, doing this and doing that, Investing in the crypto, investing in the gold and silver. When this shit's about to be done away with. All this physical currency. Esau Edom's about to roll out the new digital currency system. But these people are in the dark. They don't know shit. That's why when they get hit, with that MOTB, they're gonna take it because like, oh nah, I built, put my time, energy, blood, sweat, tears all in this. How are you just gonna take it away? And then Esau's gonna be like, okay, you want it back? Here, take this micro chip, take this MOTB. Verse 44: They that marry as they that shall not shall get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers. And that's how we're in the last days. People are still getting married, eating, drinking, giving into marriage. They're in that flood behavior spirit, because here the world's crumbling, all hell's breaking loose, but yet these people are still living like everything's normal, knowing damn well nothing is normal in Babylon, the great America, and around the world. You got all these wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes in diverse places. You got solar eclipses, every other month, lunar eclipses, signs in the heaven, chariots. But yet, these people are moving like nothing's going on. And like this world's not crumbling, but that's ultimately Yahweh Bashim Yahushai putting that spirit of deep sleep, because he doesn't want everybody to wake up to the fact that this world is about to be done away with, and be in that spirit of Micah chapter 2 and verse 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. Verse 45, and therefore they that labor in vain. So here you got all these people, rushing to work, stuck in traffic for 2 hours every single morning and after work, and yeah, you got a lot of people that do it, because they got to provide for their family. But then you have these other people, you're just rushing to work. Oh, I gotta get more hours so I can get the newest Hellcat and the bigger house. This house is not good enough. That's that keeping up with the Joneses spirit. But that's ultimately why this place is crumbling and it's collapsing, because all these people do is just consume. Here you're working all these extra hours just to buy, more useless stuff that you don't need. Verse 46, for strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses and take their children captives. For in captivity and famine shall they get children. So yeah, all these Babylonians, these Americans, here they're working all these hours, years, decades, thinking that they're gonna retire and get their pension. But then here comes Trump, and they're like, nah, I'm raising the retirement age up to 70. And ultimately, when all hell breaks loose, all these houses and apartments that these Babylonians Americans have, that's gonna be for these foreign troops. They're gonna take over, they're gonna break into houses, they're gonna set up base. Verse 47, and they that occupy their merchandise with robbery, the more they deck their cities, their houses, their possessions, and their own persons. Verse 48, the more I will be angry with them for their sins, said the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So you have all these, these Babylonians, Americans, constantly, decking their homes. Here you got a garage, you got a TV for your garage, like damn. Couch, you got a TV for your backyard, you got a TV for your restroom, but that's the life that these Americans, these Babylonians live, constantly consuming, consume with the bread and circus, with the distractions, with the Diddy, the Kanye, the Jay-Z's. They don't care that America's about to be destroyed, and really they don't believe that it's going to be destroyed. They think that this place is going to continue on forever. Nothing's going to happen. Everything's going to be fine and dandy. These people believe that all the stuff they built on this side is going to continue on forever, but it's not. This is Psalms 127 and verse 1. And it reads, it says, a song of degrees for Solomon. It says, except the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai build the house, they labor in vain that built it. Except the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai keep the city, that watchman waketh but in vain. And yeah, all these especially these Israelites that know that they're Israelites. Here, all hell's breaking loose. They know the truth, but yet they're not in the right spirit. They're in the spirit of, oh no, we got to build on this side. How are you going to build a kingdom, an empire inside of another nation's empire, inside Esau, Edom's empire? It's just not going to happen. That's why ultimately we're waiting on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Lord willing, to be a part of that number, to deliver us, to destroy this place. And that's when we'll get, to build, build up the kingdom of heaven, but we're not going to work. No, the heathens, these Edomites, these Moabites, they're the one that are going to build up, the kingdom of heaven up on the planet Earth. But everything here, these houses, apartments, whatever Jake is building on his side, thinking that it's going to last forever, especially these Israelites that know that they're Israelites, it's in vain, because they're doing this and doing that, buying land, they're going to build farms, when all hell's about to break loose. And ultimately, you still have those thermonuclear missiles coming over here. But, these people, they're not moving like that. They think that America is going to be fine and dandy for the rest of their lives, But ultimately, this place, America, Babylon the Great, it's on its way out, And ultimately, the elect, they're not going to be in the spirit of, okay, I'm going to build this on this side, because no, ultimately, we're storing up our treasures in heaven, like it says right here. In Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19, it says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. And the elect, they're not going to be storing up treasures here upon earth. They're going to be building up that spiritual bank account. So when all hell breaks loose, they're going to have some money, some currency, some treasures on that spiritual bank account. While all these 2/3 Israelites, while they were busy building on this side, they're going to try to, oh shit, there's a spiritual bank account. Let me see what I got. They're not going to have nothing in it, because they put all their eggs in America, all in this basket. And then boom, here Esau Edom's going to come through and take all that shit away. And he's going to be like, oh, you want it back? Take this MOTB. And that's how the thief, which is Esau Edom, that's how he's going to break through and steal. He's going to take all their worldly riches, so-called riches, stock market portfolio wiped out, bank accounts wiped out, gold and silver, none, null and void. Verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. Yeah, and ultimately that's what we're doing. We're not storing up treasures here up on earth, knowing damn well this shit's about to be burned up. Esau Edom's about to take it away. We're storing up those treasures up on heaven with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So when all hell breaks loose, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is going to remember his servants. Okay, he was storing up these treasures up on heaven. He was serving me. While the rest of these 2/3 Israelites, they're going to remember in their mind, like, damn, I ain't do shit for Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. I was just out here building on this side, thinking that America was going to continue on forever. Verse 21, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And our heart, our la'ab, our mind, is not here in Babylon, the great America. Our mind is toward the kingdom of heaven. That's what we're eagerly waiting on. That's what we're patiently waiting, on Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, to destroy this place, to bring Esau Edom down, and ultimately, Lord willing, will be a part of that number, to beam us up into the chariots and get changed to those new bodies, because that's another thing too. Here Jake may have all these so-called riches, he may be a multi-millionaire, billionaire, but he's still susceptible to death, because ultimately that's another thing too. The new bodies. That's another thing that you're not going to hear in these Christian churches, these other Israelite camps. They're not pushing the new bodies. The law, statutes, commandments written in our inward parts. Verse 22, the light of the body is in the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Verse 23, but if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? And these Babylonians, these Americans, Their eyes is just, towards evil. What can I do on this side? What can I do to fulfill the lust of the flesh? What can I do to get over my neighbor? And, Jake is constantly trying to figure out new ways to get the bag, to do, new forms of wickedness, but ultimately the elect, they're in the spirit of wanting, this shithole Babylon the Great America to be done away with. Verse 24, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve Yahweh Bashim Shai Mammon. That's why these people, they chose Mammon. They chose to serve, this world and get these worldly accolades, because they couldn't wait, these two-third Israelites on Yahweh Bashim Shai, especially these Israelites, to know that they're Israelites, going the hell off, claiming that they're serving Yahweh Bashim Shai, when really they're just serving their belly. Get this next one. This is 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Yeah, and we can't love this world. This world is being ran in complete wickedness. Is being ran by Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, the basis of all men. Jake is in captivity. We're under the curses. How the hell are we gonna love this world? How the hell are we gonna love, wickedness and going off in these chains of darkness? But that's the spirit that these two-third Israelites are in. They love this world. They love this filth. Just like pigs, they want to continue to be around filth for the rest of their lives. Verse 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. Yeah, and all these people, the reason why they do, they do all the things that they do, these celebrities, these rappers, these actors, behind closed doors, is to fulfill the lust of the flesh. Because here comes Esau, Edom, a tiny cat. Boy, if you do this and you do that, you're going to get the bag. And they're willing to do that. They're willing to compromise their morals and go completely left, just to get a bag, just to get notoriety on this side, when this place is on its way out. Verse 17, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of Yahweh Bashim Shai abideth forever. And this world's passing away. Why the hell are we gonna build a life on this side when it's on its way out? Your parents telling y'all you need to go back to college and get your degree. Or you need to go build that business so we can be set up for generations to come. Shit. The elect, they are doing that, but on the righteous side, they're, Lord willing, to be a part of that number. Your family may be looking at you sideways right now. You're wasting your time with that Israelite, that Israelite thing. Go get a 3 jobs so so we can get these generational wealth. But ultimately, we're, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai, that's what we're doing. Building that legacy, Lord willing to be a part of that number, be part of that governing body. That's really, the generational wealth, to be set up free eternity, not for just a couple hundred years. This is Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 14. For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. And what's the one that we seek one to come? The kingdom of heaven being established upon the planet Earth, where righteousness is gonna rule. The law, statutes, commandments are gonna be at the forefront. The whole nation of Israel, they're gonna be in their right mind. We're gonna be in the new bodies. Lord willing, to be a part of the first fruits, of the elect. But that's what we're looking forward to. That's where we want to build, in the kingdom of heaven. Not here on this side, where everything's corrupted, the water, the air, the food, GMO foods. These women are defiled. They're not virgins. You got wickedness just rampant loose, and you can't do nothing about it. You just got to let it happen, until Yahweh Bashim Shai judges these wicked-ass people in his wicked-ass place. But that's what we're looking forward to, is the kingdom of heaven, where we're going to have the law, statutes, commandments written in our inward parts, the new bodies, to never go off again. That's what we want. Not no damn Babylon the Great America to continue on forever and for gas to go back to 50 cents. No, man, this play's done away with and it's on its way out. But that's pretty much the point. I pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who have learned this truth from and who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom.